Instant funding at FTUK is what we're known for. We've been doing it a long time. Plus, it's what we do best.
So, if bypassing traditional prop evaluations is what you're looking for, then take a look at our completely redesigned instant funding program. We've introduced a new $5,000 starting balance. Each account size gives you full access to news trading, no minimum trading days needed to scale, fully flexible risk management, and best of all,
Payouts on demand. The all-new instant funding account from FTUK. Hello, how are you doing? Welcome along to FTUK's weekly catch-up live stream. Hope you are doing well and you've had a good week in the markets. As always, instant funding. Yeah, it's all we've been talking about all week. The new accounts, they are live. It says it in the promo and it's on the website, and boy, have they been popular. Really super popular. So it's good to see people are clearly, obviously, interested in working in that capacity, in the way that that is all framed. So hopefully that's going to work for everyone. As always, there's tons to get through over the course of this live stream. Please do, of course, go to Discord and scan the QR code and join in there. That's where you can find out all of the latest stuff that's going on. And boy, there is an awful lot to going on at FTUK. This one's going to be a packed one. Absolutely. There's a lot to get through. We are going to be looking at, obviously, instant funding is the biggest thing at the moment. I'm going to be answering some questions around that people have written in over the course of the week. But before we actually get on to the instant funding, it's just important just to say... Yeah, I love the graphics. It's fantastic. We've got a 40% discount at the moment. It's a flash sale. It's only for 24 hours, though. So if you haven't yet, if you've been on the fence about whether to buy the new instant funding account or any of the other accounts that we've got at FTUK, now is the time to do it because we decided to do a flash sale. 24 hours. It's the end of the month-end flows and that kind of thing. So, yeah, 40% off all of the accounts. There's no add-ons, no complicated offers here. It's just a straightforward 40% discount. But if you're watching over the weekend, it will not be there anymore, so it will have gone. It's only for 24 hours on Friday and it will end today. So if you do want an amazing new instant funding account, you can get the 100k one for just under $900. It's amazing. Really amazing. Also as well, just to say too, that we've got a new thing that's working on YouTube, and obviously I always like people to subscribe to the YouTube channel because we do the live streams and we are trying to build the channel, but we've got a new feature that's running on there, so it is worth subscribing to YouTube. We've got a little quiz thing that's where there's the question going to be posted every day. So if you've got your phone handy, you'll find that every day it'll come up with a new notification, and there's a little quiz question about prop, about trading, about markets. It'll pop up on your phone and you can answer it. There's no prizes, there's no offers or anything attached to that. It's just a bit of educational content that we're sticking out there. We're going to look at education later on in this year, so there's a lot of plans at FTUK, but this is a really cool way of just keeping yourself in the loop with making sure that if you're learning to trade, then we'll quiz you. How much do you know? Test yourself every single day. It's really cool. We started doing it in the last week or so, and people are answering them. So yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll see it under the post section over there, and yeah, it is worth getting involved for sure. Right, let's do what we are doing today. We're going to look at some instant funding questions that we've had. Obviously, we've launched the instant funding, so we're going to look at some of the key questions that people have had over the course of the last few days. I then also want to do a little bit of a primer on leverage and margin, just so that we're keeping everybody in the loop in understanding how the differences between margin and leverage. And then we are going to do a very sneak preview of the next big thing that's coming at FTUK, and that is our new Lightning Challenge. This is outrageously good. It is very good. It's not going to be yet, but we're going to do a little preview. I just want to open the tin on that one and give you a sneaky look inside. It's very cool. I'm very proud of it. Okay, let's now start by looking at the instant funding because we've got the new accounts. People then obviously purchase the accounts, and there's a number of questions that come in off the back of that. So I'm just we picked out some of the key ones, and I'm going to run through those on a little hit list and put some extra further context around that just to fill in the details. As always, you can always talk to the support team, our guys on the online chat and the support email. They are very, very, very good, and they know all of the information. So you never need to worry that you're ever going to be left in the dark. There's plenty of help and resources there. Let's look at the first question. This is one of the ones that came in. How does the scaling plan work? I want to have a clear understanding of the potential of a $5,000 account. Okay, so scaling is something that we do a lot of at FTUK. We are well known for a very, very aggressive scaling plan. We talked about that I think it was a couple of weeks ago on the live stream, and it's something that I think we do well at FTUK. If you want to get a heads up on how the scaling works, all you need to do, let me just get my screens right. If you head over to the website, and you go down to this on the top section here. If you just head down to scaling plan, you'll see it there. All of the information is always going to the big table of information of the actual levels. That's all on there, and what you need to do from a target point of view. That's all on there. So hit on the instant funding one. Our 5K account is just on instant funding at the moment, but you can see you start level 1 on 5K, but there's your capacity there. All the way up to level 7, you get up to $320,000 on level 7. And what you have to do is hit 10% on each level, and then if you're under the consistency score, because it's only available for people that are consistent, then you will get assessed, and then the team will move you on to the next level. That is where you find all of the information and the detail about that. Now, we've got to remember with this is the 5K account itself, it may look like a small amount of money, but it's very, very, very low cost to get involved. It's only, at the moment, I think with a discount, if you grab it with the 40% discount, it's only $71. So for $71, a potential of $320,000 worth of firepower, I mean, that's really an amazing deal. So it's not, scaling with FTUK is not a very, very complicated concept, but it's depending on what size of account you get more firepower as you go. But even for a small account like that, that's a lot of bang for your buck along the way. So yeah, it's I think it's something that people will get used to, the new way that we are going to work. But the core of understanding how you're going to scale up once you've hit those scaling targets, it's all about understanding that you have to be a consistent trader. Now, we talked about the consistency scoring system, how that's going to work on the dashboard. I'm going to get onto that in a second and show you where all of that is. But it's essentially that allows that functionality to happen. So yeah, you shouldn't have any problems. Second question. I would like to know how it would benefit me in terms of drawdowns and scaling targets to stop taking profits at different levels. Well, it's up to you. We give people that flexibility. Now, the only thing about people that decide to not take any money along the way is that what they're essentially doing is they're essentially giving themselves more room on the account. Because we have risk parameters in place. So if you're going to withdraw money, then it's not going to move the drawdown levels around. So if you decide not to take your money as you are trading, then you're essentially going to give yourself more capacity to cope with downswings in the market or any positions that you've got. That is one of the key advantages of doing that. Now, it depends how you want to run it, and this is all we do is offer the tools. It depends on the individual, and I've spoken to different traders over the last few weeks, and what surprises me is that they all have slightly different priorities. They all want to, I need money now. Well, I choose this account because I prefer this type of drawdown or these kinds of risk parameters, which I don't get somewhere else. Everyone is different what they want to do. So, and that's okay. What we do is we give you those options to either withdraw or not withdraw. And then you can scale up and you have more room to work with as you scale. Now, it depends how you want to do it. I think that if you are working hard at your trading and you've been on quite a journey with it, why not reward yourself? And you are entitled to take a payout if you qualify and you're under the consistency score. So, there's an argument for saying, put it this way, people can get quite upset if they put a huge amount of work into account and then they fall foul of rules later on and they think, I should have taken some money. So try and balance it. And, obviously, you can have several accounts with FTUK as well. So you can have one account where if you are trading it and you have got that payout facility, you could maybe look at doing that. It really is dealer's choice. It really is entirely up to you. Okay. The third question, does taking profit affect my drawdown limits on the daily or the max drawdown? Well, essentially, in a short answer, the word to that is no, it doesn't. But what you've always got to bear in mind if you are going to take some profit is give yourself some room. Don't just go right to the wire. Particularly with the instant funding, because it's a relative trading drawdown. So always just give yourself that extra little bit of room. So if you then withdraw some money, you're not going to find that if you've got a trading drawdown that's coming up, it's not going to then self-adjust or something like that. So you're going to need to just bear that in mind as you go. Next question. What happens to my account if profit? What happens to my account and profit if I reach the scaling target during trading, but the consistency score is not achieved? Okay, that's a really, really good question. And because the consistency score is essentially what you have to achieve to do two core bits of this equation, and that is the ability to scale and then also the ability to get payouts on demand, then what you would be required to do is you'd need to carry on trading the account until you achieve that consistency score. And then once you've got that consistency, even if you have achieved the actual target in percentage terms, we'd have to wait for that consistency score to be achieved, and then you could then move forward to the next level. That is how that is going to work. Good questions. I hope that gives an extra bit of detail. But, like I said before, if you've got any specific things you're not sure of, I think we've done a pretty good job of putting a lot of detail out there already. It could be that we need to put some more information out there as well, because this is a brand new restructuring of the entire program. So that's okay. We will do that. But I can promise anyone, if you've got any questions, you can just message the team, and we will always get back to you, and we will get that answer to you. So you definitely do not need to worry. Right. Okay, let's move on. This is a big one. This is the subject of margin and leverage. Now, the whole concept of margin and leverage, it gets when you just start trading, it's a bit weird. You don't really understand what's going on. You just kind of look at the profit and loss and think, well, I'm moving up really fast or I'm moving down really fast. What's going on? And there's a lot of confusion around these two terms. They're both around the same subject, but what I want to try to do is do a little bit of a workshop to open up the subject so that I can show you the core differences and give you some key analogies. Well, actually, one main analogy that you can understand what you're doing when you're actually trading. We always essentially borrow money when we are trading. Whenever you click the button, you're essentially borrowing capital when you do that. And the easiest way to understand what's going on is to think of it in terms of a mortgage. Most people would understand the concept of how a mortgage works. You want to buy a house, it's 100 grand, you haven't got 100 grand. You've got to go to the bank, you've got to borrow some of it, they're going to want you to stick some money in as well. There you go. That's it. We are borrowing money to buy something that we don't have the capital for. Essentially, that is how we work as leveraged traders. Every time you click the button, you're operating within that financial structure. You're borrowing a certain amount of capital, and you are putting some money into that equation. You will get the firepower and the move on your chart and your P&L based on that equation. That is it. But I want to look at leverage and margin separately because they are different and they go to equal this equation. And understanding that is going to help a lot of people in just getting some context around what's actually going on when they're buying and selling in the market, because knowledge is power, and it's important understanding. So before we get into that, let's just break this down into really simple terms so we can understand exactly what's going on. This is going to be important in a few seconds. So everybody will recognize what this is, or hopefully they do. This is a quote from a trading platform, and we've got a price that we can buy at and a price that we can sell at. And in markets, we always have a bid and an offer because we need those two prices. And usually the difference between the two is how the broker sits in the middle and then makes their money from that. Now, in this one, this is a quote from yesterday, and this is the euro against the dollar. So we'll use euro dollar as an analogy for understanding and explaining how margin and leverage work. You've got two components of this. You've got the base component of it, that is the euro bit, and then you've also got the quote bit of it. So if we put euro dollar on there like that, you got euro there, and you've got USD there. So, oops, let me just put that there. So in Euro USD, Euro is first in the way that quote is written on the screen. So Euro is the base, what we call the base, and the US dollar is what we call the quote. Now, this is the important thing. The numbers that you're looking there on the screen, what are they? Are they euros or they're dollars? Well, they're dollars because we're quoting our prices in dollars, which is why the dollar is on the second bit of the equation. So essentially what that means is it means that for one euro, you can purchase $1.0409. That is what that is doing, and that is the way that the transaction works. You'll also see this box at the top. That is our quantity. That is our lot size. That is the amount that we want to actually trade. What we want to trade $1? Do we want to trade 10? Do we want 100 million? What is that number? That deals with the quantity. So we've got the prices and we've got the quantity. Now, what's important to understand is the amount that you are going to be trading. Usually the standard size, particularly in Forex, Forex is a very structured market in terms of the amounts of sizes are very standardized. And in the industry, the standard sized amount is 100,000 units. And what does units mean? Well, when you buy 1.00, just one, and they are on a standard platform, and depends, some platforms will do it slightly differently, so you need to get that local knowledge, but the industry standard 1.00 in some of the most popular platforms, what that is representing is 100,000 units of the base. So all we really need to understand is that when we hit that button with that quantity, we are purchasing 100,000 units of the base currency. Now, the simple way to understand that, essentially what we're doing is we're purchasing 100,000 euros and we are selling the equivalent amount in dollars, or we are converting those 100,000 euros into dollars. So if you imagine if you went to an airport and you went to the ATM and you got out 100,000 euros and you went to the bureau de change before you get on the plane and you said, there you go, there's my euros, my 100,000 euros, give me the dollars. That is essentially what we are doing. He gives you dollars. That is essentially what we are doing. We're going from one to the other. That is how that works. Now that's important to understand when it comes to margin and leverage. Okay, let's now talk specifically about leverage. This is the borrowing bit of the equation. It's how much money that you can borrow on the actual size of transaction that you want to make. So if you think about it in terms of getting a mortgage, you could say, okay, well, I go to the bank, I want to buy this house for 100 grand. And they say, but I've only got 10. And maybe the bank may say to you, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll lend you 10 times your capital. So what they will do is they'll say, okay, well, that's the money that I've got, 10 grand, multiply it by 10. Okay, I can get 100 grand from them. Essentially, that's what that relationship is. So we've leveraged our money by a quantity of 10 to 1. And this is how leverage is quoted: 10 to 1, 20 to 1, 30 to 1, upwards to maybe even 1,000 to 1. Now, this is incredibly important to get because all your Forex accounts, all your retail Forex accounts, whether you're in a broker or a prop trading, or whether you're working in futures as well, you're working with leveraged money. You're borrowing money, and it's about understanding how much you're actually borrowing. Different brokers will offer you different amounts of leverage. So, for example, with our instant funding program, I think the instant funding, I hope I get it right, I think it's 30 to 1 at the moment on the leverage. So that means you can buy 30 to 1. Now you can see when you get up to these areas here, areas of like 1,000 to 1, it's a lot. It really is an awful lot of money, and that can be very dangerous. And that's what's going to give you that swing on your profit and loss all the time when you're really surging, you're making money, or you're losing money very, very quickly. The further you go up that scale, the more aggressive that is going to be, which is why people can suddenly make themselves incredibly rich, or they can completely blow everything up in a very, very short space of time. It's the leverage that is doing that. Now, if you're interested in understanding the how much is what's the right amount? Well, that's really up to the individual to choose how they want to work. But to give you professional context or real world context, when I started trading, when Lehman Brothers collapsed in 2007, 2008, I think it was, Lehman Brothers was brought down by leverage of 30 to 1. That's what it took. Now, you see the firepower that some brokerages would allow you to have, up to 1,000 to 1 in some cases. So if an investment bank was brought down by 30 to 1, that gives you the playing view. That tells you roughly where the landscape currently lies. So it's important to keep a track of that. Let's look at a quick example. So there you've got it there. I've got $10,000 or 10,000 whatever in my account, and the broker is offering me 10 to 1. So essentially, in theory, I could open that 1.0, that standard lot size, because I can get 100,000 of my capital, 100,000 borrowing power based on the amount that I've got in my account. That as a concept is not particularly difficult for most people to understand. Now, let's just make it a little bit more complicated. So say, for example, I've got less than 10,000 now. I've only got maybe 7,800. But my account, the leverage is set. It's there all the time on the account. So I've been leveraged at 500 to 1. How do I get there? Well, it's really, really easy. All I need to do is multiply the leverage amount that I am allocated, that I've got on my account, by the amount of money that I have got on deposit in my account. And what that would do at an absolute maximum would give me firepower of just under $4 million, which would be 39.00 if you're entering the lot size into the actual bid and offer quote box. So that's obviously a very, very extreme example, but the point is understanding that you are borrowing all the time when you are hitting the button essentially is the most important concept to grasp. Now, let's talk about the opposite side of that, and that is the margin component. So we've got the leverage on one hand, which is all about how much we're borrowing. We've got margin, and margin is the opposite side of that. It's the other bit. It's the bit that you've got to stick in. And this is where it starts to get confusing and people start to really not understand what they're doing. It's the amount of money that you need to be able to purchase a particular position. And to think about how this works, this is essentially the bank saying to you, okay, well, you want to buy that house, that's fine. You've got to put down a 5% deposit. You've got to put a 10% deposit down if you want to buy that particular one. That's kind of it. So you've got the two components. You've got the bit that you're borrowing yourself and the amount of money that you have got to stick in. So if you look at a simple example of that, if you've got that 100,000 lot size, that 1.00, and you've got that euro dollar position, if that's the full size of the position there, essentially we could have a 10% margin, which is set on the account, which means that we'd have to put 10% of that position in there. Now, this is the bit that gets confusing for so many people, and that is understanding how the conversions work when it comes to understanding margin. So you could say, for example, I've got a margin rate on my account of 10%. We need 10% of that position in our account, and that is obviously going to be in dollars. For most people, that's going to be in dollars, and certainly in prop firms, it's pretty much going to be priced in dollars. So what we need to do to understand what the actual margin is going to be, you've got to do the conversion first into that dollar currency before you can understand the margin. So what we would need to do is we need to convert the euros into dollars. That would be 100,000 times the exchange rate, which in our example is 1.0409, and that would give us the euro amount in dollars. So we've got $104,000 and $104,090. If you multiply that by 10%, you'll get 10,409, and that would be the margin for that position on the account. Essentially then, if you had 100 grand in your account, the capital that you'd be left to trade with on your account would be about 89 grand in total. And you'll see that. This is why you'll see on your trading platform, you'll have the money that you've got in there. But then if you look at the margin section, when you buy that position, there'll be a certain bit that's allocated from your capital to cover that margin. That's essentially it. Just think about that's the deposit on a house. And if you have multiple positions on your trading platform, you've bought multiple houses. Really, really not too complicated once you have a simple gateway into actually understanding how it works. Now, there's one key component that separates these two, which gets missed by every single retail trader ever. And it's understanding this core concept. If you do not understand any of that, you can go away, do some research on the actual definitions of margin leverage, do your own calculations. Excel spreadsheets are your friend in this instance, and really, go to town on it. You'll definitely benefit as a trader by doing that. But if you don't remember anything that we've talked about so far, remember this one thing, and that is this concept. Margin is dictated to you by the broker, but leverage is something you choose. It's all about what you can control and what you can't control. And this is important because it's one of the reasons why people blow up is they over leverage. So you're offered a certain amount of capacity, a certain amount of firepower, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to choose it. So I may be given by a broker a leverage capacity of 500 to 1, but I can work at 100 to 1. And I can do that by dialing down my positions or calculating out what that's going to be. I get to choose as a trader how aggressive I want to work. Margin, on the other hand, the broker or the prop company or whichever trading company that you're working with, they dictate the margin that you have to put on deposit each time you're opening a position. That's the core difference between leverage and margin. And the reason why that's important to understand, and this is one of the illusions in trading, particularly in futures trading. If you've ever done any futures, opened a futures account on the CME, and you trade these futures contracts and standardized sizes, and you look back historically on the chart, and you look at the S&P 500, and you see this huge, great big waterfall, and you think, wow, how much money could I have made on that? And you think, wow, look at how many I can trade all these contracts, and I've got intraday margin of only $500 per contract. And you look at that and you think, this is amazing. But what you forget, when volatility and geopolitical events kick off in markets, what happens at a lot of brokerages is they increase their margin requirements because the broker controls that. It's so, so important. So you look back at that historic chart and you think, I could have made all this. But actually, unless you've got the capacity, the financial capacity to increase your deposit so you can cover an increased margin, you'd only ever be trading small amounts. So it's an illusion in trading which kind of gets everyone. They never ever see it. What's missing on that chart when you're looking at a massive move, if there's a big earthquake or a geopolitical event or whatever's, or an interest rate decision that wasn't expected or something like that, what the industry does is that they increase those margin requirements. Unless you've got the firepower in your own bank account to cover those margins, your sizes will be reduced naturally as a consequence of that. So this is why understanding margin and leverage, it can be so useful, and you'll benefit as a trader if you definitely put some work into understanding it. So I was a little bit of a primer in understanding how both of those concepts work. And have a research online. There's plenty of YouTube videos about it. Lots of tools online. People are spoiled these days because in the industry, a lot of the platforms do a lot of the work for us. But you'll definitely benefit by doing some manual work on that for sure. Right, finally, let's look at a very small preview of our new challenge that's going to be coming in a few weeks' time. I don't quite exactly know when it's going to be. It's called the Lightning Challenge, and this is all about speed. It is super, super cool. I think people are going to like it. It's a different way of working. As a prop company, our job is to offer facility. Our job is to offer you a range of ways of doing the things that you want to do in markets, getting you where you want to go in the way that you want to do it. And you can choose. So our job is to give you those tools. And this is a really cool new program. And it's going to appeal to a certain type of trader, but it's worth getting a go because the low cost point is going to make it accessible to everyone. It's all built on speed. And hopefully maybe, people will learn something about themselves psychologically if they're working in a different way. It's all about speed. It's a very quick evaluation. It's done over 7 days. And it's designed to be a relatively fast way of getting funded in the market where you're not going to take too long. And as a result of that, the cost is low and also the profit targets are very low as well. And also the rules are going to be simple as well. It's very, very different from the instant funding program we've got. It's very different from our one-step and it's very different from our two-step as well. So I think it's going to sit in a unique position in the suite of accounts that we have got at FTUK. It's all about accelerating your journey, getting there faster if that is important to you and that is what you want to do. So it's only going to be on over a 7-day period. That may change. We may extend it up to 10 days, May 14 at some point, but I think probably the start point is going to be a 7-day period. So you've got 7 days to get evaluated. You've got 7 days to pass the challenge, hit the target, and then you'll get funded from there. It's really, really cool. The price point is going to be very, very cheap. And this is the unique thing about this, and it's going to be different from our other accounts as well, and that is that the pricing for it is split. So if you're not that confident, it's going to be super cheap for you to have a go, because if you don't pass, it's not going to cost you the rest of the fee to get funded. Really cool. So you pay a small amount at the evaluation stage, and then if you're successful by the end of the 7 days and you hit the target and you get the assessment and then you're invited to be funded, then bang, you pay the second bit. So it's a really cool way of making it very accessible to traders that maybe are on limited budgets. So it's definitely something that you should consider if you're interested. And the rules around this, there's still a little bit of fleshing out needs to go, but essentially it's going to be a relatively level playing field, because the drawdown levels and the targets are going to be equalized. So you can see over a short time period, because you can't put a short time period on it and then say, right, you need to make 20% and you only got a 2% drawdown. Yeah, that's not going to work. You've got to create the right conditions to get people onboarded in the right way. So as a result of that, we've leveled the drawdown and also the profit target as well. It's going to be 5% either side, which makes it nice and smooth and easy. It's not too aggressive in either direction. And 5%, I mean, we see it all the time, 5% for a lot of people is easily doable. A lot of people achieve that quite easily. So hopefully it's going to be something that's going to work really well. That's going to come up in the next few weeks. It's not ready yet, but I will obviously subscribe to the emails and get on all the channels and everything like that, and you will definitely be in the loop when it all gets made live and the accounts are ready to go. So yeah, it's going to be good. Okay, that's finally it. So bear in mind that the flash sale that we've got at the moment, new 40 is the code that you're going to need at the checkout. 40% off absolutely everything. It's going to be very, very popular, I think, but you're going to have to be quick because it's not going to be there for very long. New 40 is the code that you need. That is it for today. We packed a lot in there. That's an awful lot of detail. Yeah, thanks very much for joining us. Non-farm payrolls is going to be next Friday. We didn't do it last month. I promise you we will be here next Friday for non-farm payrolls. Have a fantastic week in the markets, and we will see you all next Friday.